If you see it's Ron, thanks for stopping by. Got video lined up for today. I've got some albums and I got some 45s to show. And you know, I've been looking, but it's been really dry around here. I did make a few scores, but yeah, it's been just really dry the last few months. And I mean, there's some high-end collectibles out there, but I'm just not going to fork out on that stuff. You know, I bought a car, my rent's going up, so, you know, I got to consider all that, but, you know, I'm doing what I can. And Brandy, No.167, you know, he's contacted me a couple of times. He says, Ron, I've had to resort watching your old videos. You know, I really need you to make a video for me, please, please. I'll do anything. I'll even send you a bunch of money. I said, Randy, come on, you don't have to do that. But, you know, when we do some BCLT, if you want to slip a little cash in there, I mean, I'm not going to argue over it, but you do what you want to do. So anyway, let's get going with the showing. And this first album I'm going to show is an album that I just recently picked up. And I had this album back in the late 70s when I was still in high school. I bought this album and I hadn't heard it for 40 years. Oh, it was quite a trip to hear it. And it's the second album by Clat 2, Hope. This is a US pressing on the Red Capitol label. And it's come out in 1977. Got it with the inner sleeve. Yeah, when I originally had this, I bought it on cassette because at the time I had a little portable cassette player, and I used to like to take it to work, school. You know, so to listen to tunes at school. I don't know if they have been allowed that these days, but back then they did. So you could jam out, you know. So, yeah, I picked that up and you know, I really wasn't sure if I was going to like it as much. I mean, you know, taste changed. And I'll tell you, I think that album's actually stood up pretty good. There's a lot more full orchestra on it than I remembered it to be. But it's a mixture of like hard prog rock, pop, and full orchestra music. Very cool. And you know, that when that album came out, the rumors about the band being actually the Beatles in disguise had finally been exposed to be false. When their first album came out, there was a review written by some journalist saying how much that album sounded like the Beatles. And you know, one thing led to another. You know, they were very mysterious in the beginning. No information about the band, no photos, no name credits, nothing. A lot of investigation was done at the time, and nothing could be found out about that band. And the rumor mill started turning, and it just went crazy, and they were just selling copies left and right of that first album after the rumor broke. In the beginning, when it first was released, it wasn't really selling. So, and then when it was finally exposed that the band was not really the Beatles or any of the Beatles members, you know, they got slammed, you know, scam, hoax, you know, blah, blah, blah. But that didn't really affect the band too much, because that album right there that I just showed sold a respectable 400,000 copies. So, I mean, that's not bad. But yeah, really cool. In fact, I want to go ahead and I want to pick up the other Clat 2 albums. You can get them for $5 or whatever. So, I mean, they're not pricey at all. This next one I picked up used. It's a compilation out of Sweden. It's Swedish pressing, and it's the Velvet Illusions. And this is Garage Psych, and this is This band was originally out of Washington State, and then in 1967 they moved down to California, and this is the label. And so this is all 5 of their 1967 singles, A's and B-sides. And the cool thing about this thing, it plays at 45 RPM. So, I mean, it's got 10 songs, but it plays at 45. So, it, you know, helps to boost the sound up a little bit. You know, it does sound good. So, yeah, it's got a song on here from their first single called Acid Head. And it was about a girl that was taking LSD, and it was banned from the radio. But very cool. I mean, I'd say half of this is like super cool, you know, and the other half is not as good because obviously they're B-sides. But well worth checking into. In this opening track, Velvet Illusions, I remember hearing that song back in the 80s. I had a mystery tape of garage stuff that somebody gave me, but I didn't have any of the track information. And that song was on it. Here's another one that I picked up used, and it's The Human Zoo. This was originally like a private press out of California on the Accent label. And this is a 180 gram reissue. Reproduced the label, the original label. Original artwork. This is pretty good. I think I listened to it once, and so I can't really talk about it too much, but it was good, but I would say that Velvet Illusion is better. Here's a sugary pop album that some of you may like, if you're into that sort of thing, that I picked up. It's okay. Side 1's pretty strong. And then once you start getting into side 2, it starts losing steam. It's their only album from 1968, I think it's when it came out, and it's the Saltwater Taffy. And it's on the Buddha label. And this is a promo label copy. And it's promo only mono. And I think I read online that the mix is different. It's not a fold down, it's a dedicated mono, but I'm not absolutely positive on that because I've never heard the stereo mix. I can't compare it. But somewhere I think I read that online. But yeah, this is pretty good male-female vocal. You know, it's definitely that sunshiny, sugary pop that was going on in the late 60s. Is it essential? Not for me, it's not, but you know, it's pretty decent if you're into that sort of thing. Oh, let me show you what's on the turntable while we're in between showings here. This is Wet, and this is a private press out of the Northwest. The name of the band is Wet, and this is Kevin Wet right here. He was the leader, and he released this private press of a limited edition of 1,500 copies, and the vinyl is completely clear with no label, and it was housed in the front. So when you looked at it, it looked like a picture disc with the girls. But in reality it was just clear vinyl with an insert. And I put some pink stickers on there because the girl is fully nude, and this channel is rated PG, so I didn't want to get too racy. This is actually Kevin Wet's girlfriend, and this was her sister. So those two girls are sisters, and it's definitely penthouse style photography. And this record came out in late 1980. In fact, it's dedicated to the memory of John Lennon here at the bottom. It's a 4-track 12-inch EP, and he did have a second one, and this is an insert that was inside, and I've seen copies of this online that is sold, but none of them had this insert, so I think it was promo only. So it has a lot of information about the artist, and it actually does say that there was 1,500 copies of that record pressed in the article. And the back is sort of like a ad type of thing. So the fact that it had this, it leads me to believe this was used for promotional purposes. And I got a pretty decent price on that. I didn't know what it was, but it looked interesting, and so I took a chance on it. It is very good. It's kind of like early album-oriented hair metal, but it's got some progressive leanings on it, and it's quite good. It sounds good, good quality, good production, and they don't go for a ton of money because it's not a full-blown album. It's only got 4 tracks, but it's pretty good. So yeah, that guy worked at Millennium Records in Oregon for 5 years. He was a store clerk there, and he put this record out. So he did have one further one after that one. But yeah, it's good. I thought it was going to be cheesy, but it's actually quite good. So I'm going to flip the record over so you can hear the other side. This one I've never seen before out in the wild, and I never had it. And it's the Troggs, Black Bottom. And this album came out in 1981, I believe, if I remember right. So it's kind of got that new wave style cover, you know, kind of in the style of what Simple Minds was doing at the time. And this is actually a pretty good album. To me, what really stood out about the Troggs was Reg Presley's unique voice. I mean, I think he really made the band with that, you know, unique voice that he had. It's on New Rose. This is a French pressing, and this has the track "Strange Movies" on it about pornography, and it's kind of done kind of like tongue-in-cheek, and very good song. That's actually the highlight of the album for me, is Strange Movies. You probably could hear that on YouTube, I would imagine. But yeah, I like this album. It's pretty good. This one I picked up yesterday, and I've not had a chance to listen to it. And I've seen it shown recently in the BC. I think Psychedelic Snow showed it. Sean, I think he showed it. And it's Street. It's on the Verve Forecast label. Sort of folk rock, I think, and male-female vocal. And I read the review on it. It's got a good review. There's the label. It's their only album, 1967. This is a stereo copy, and I think it did come out in mono as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing this. I've not heard. I heard a brief little snippet of it, is all. Now this one I've not heard. I was going to check it out on YouTube after I bought it, and I've not had the opportunity to do so. It's kind of got a mediocre rating, maybe 3 stars at best. And it's The Messengers from 1969. And this is their only album. And this is a sealed copy. And this is just Everybody Likes Music sticker that's on there. I mean, that's not a song of theirs or anything like that. It's kind of like Give the Gift of Music type of a thing that used to be going on. It's like that. Everybody Likes Music. It's on the Rare Earth label. It is a bit of a cutout right here, little saw mark, but it's original seal. So pretty cool. And I read that the inside of the jacket is plastic lined to help protect your vinyl. So that's kind of interesting. So they got that band, they got a long history going back to the early 60s. They were reformed in like 67 and had that hit, just like Romeo and Juliet, but that was Michael and the Messengers. And then they reverted back to the Messengers. It's like totally different band, like one member kind of a thing, kept it going. This one is Dave Mason, Alone Together. Now I've showed this album before on my channel. This is an original copy, but it is a promo copy. So it has marked promotional copy, not for sale. And there's the vinyl. Every record is kind of like a fingerprint. No two are exactly the same. I was looking online and there's some test pressings of this album where they were test pressing different colors and different swirl patterns and stuff like that, and those go for a lot of money. Now it'd be awesome to find one of those. So that probably for that reason you should always check that album in case you might have a test pressing. Okay, this next one is it looked like a joke, but I decided to get it because it was really cheap and I'd never seen it before. And it's a band called Charles River and the Valley Boys, and they're doing Beatle cover versions in bluegrass style. And believe it or not, this is on the Elektra label. So this is stereo. I think it come out in it came out in 1966. This is a stereo copy. And somehow this is actually pretty decent. They do like the stuff that was kind of like from the Beatles Rubber Soul era is actually pretty good. I've Just Seen a Face is good. What Goes On, Norwegian Wood, a bluegrass version of Paperback Writer, if you can imagine that. But here's the kicker. There's a bluegrass version of Yellow Submarine. And they sing it, "We all live in a yeller submarine." There's the tracks. Pretty strange. The final album that I'm going to show is Illusion, and this is from 1978. This is Keith Relf's Illusion, and I believe this is their final album. And this is an original UK copy. It was only released in Europe. It wasn't released in the States. And it's on the Blue Island label. This is good. I like it. I don't know if I like it as much as the first Illusion album, but I listened to it last night. And what I really like about it is it's got Jane Relf on it, and I'm kind of a fan of her. And she does one beautiful track on here called Lewis Theme. Just real slow, dreamy, angelic voice. Just beautiful. So yeah, it's the original band really, except for Keith Relf. And there's a couple extra players on here. It's even got Louis Cinema on bass, who was in Steamhammer and Armageddon. So yes, this is a pretty good album. I like it. I got a really great deal on that. Okay, let me flash a few 45s at you, and then that's going to wrap it up. I got an original Little Richard Lucille with the original company sleeve. Now, I didn't have this company sleeve, so I got the record with the sleeve. February 1957 is when it was released. This is a reissue of the Sonics on Norton 7-inch. This is not actually a reissue, it's previously unreleased live. But there was an album that I have, and these tracks are on that album, and I didn't realize it, but I got it used for a few bucks, so it's no biggie. It does have a neat sleeve. So it's got Busybody and the Witch recorded live at the Tacoma Sports Arena, November 27th, 1964. So if you're interested, there's actually a whole album that Norton put out with that material. Here's Arthur Lee, and it's got two acoustic demos from his Vindicator album, which I really like. And in fact, I might like the acoustic versions better than the electric versions. But very cool. It's on Sundays. Black vinyl. And the songs are Love Jumped Through My Window, recorded in 1971, and Sad Song, recorded 1971. Acoustic demos. Picked this up dirt cheap, $1 hauler. The Cherry People. Real lightweight pop, little bit of psych. Imagination's pretty good. The B-side, it's got some treated psychedelic vocal, and this band is notable for having what's his name, Punky something in the band, who was in the band Angel. And then Zappa immortalized him in that song Punky's Whips. That was about him too, from what I heard. Jimi Hendrix, No Such Animal, on Audio Fidelity. This was released right after Jimmy died, and it's weird that it's got Braille on the top of the sleeve. So someone who is blind owned this record, and they marked it with a stamp with Braille lettering. So I got this for a few dollars. It is pretty clean shape, so you don't really see it around. I think this is maybe the second or third copy of this I've ever seen. So this is actually early Jimmy, like 1965, I think, when he was with King Curtis in the Squires, and so it's actually, they're instrumentals, but they're actually very, very cool. Okay, I picked up, now I've showed this record before. It's the local pressing of Gloria by the Shadows of Night, the very first local Chicago pressing. And I had this one, and then probably last year, I think it was, I picked up another copy, but I never showed it on my channel. It's like VG minus. The copy I had was like VG, and this one's like VG minus, so I had a couple of them. Well, I found another one, and this one is in excellent condition. And it was I couldn't believe it, I found it for $1. It was in the dollar box. So, yeah, really nice shape. It's got a little bit of just coloring on the gold label from somebody's hands. You know, the oil on your fingers got on there. But other than that, I mean, the record is like really clean. So it's weird to have 3 of these things because I guess they were pretty rare. I guess they are pretty rare. It's kind of a sleeper. Like they I think they're like going for like 30-40 bucks on average. But supposedly they made less than 1,000 of them. But I don't know what the deal is. I don't think a lot of people know about it, or whatever the reason is. They just don't bring a whole lot of money. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it. And not much is going on. I was gonna be moving in 2 weeks, but that's been pushed back or pushed forward until February. So I will be moving in February, but it will be a different apartment at the same complex. So gives me a little bit of resting time before then. Before I hate moving. Oh God, it's such a pain. But you got to do it. You got to do it. But at least I'll be in a nice, freshly renovated apartment. So. Alright, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And yeah, it's getting to be VCLT time. Randy. Later.